Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Brothers and sisters, we are really thankful to the officials of this city, this state, that 35 years after what we went through, not only in Darbar Sahib Amritsar, which is the sanctum sanctorum of the Sikhs, but in 37 other Sikh historical shrines. And to put the record straight, that in the first week of June, as today is June 1st, our homeland, state of Punjab, which is a small state with 50,300 square kilometer territory, that was cut off from the rest of the world. All the foreign correspondents were thrown out of the city of Amritsar. Walking or even using bike was forbidden. And the whole of Punjab, after being cut off from the rest of the world, over 200,000 Indian army marched into Punjab with the artillery, with the tanks, and all the latest war equipment. And what happened in the first week of June? If today in the modern world we may say that what the so-called largest democracy on this planet, India, to an average American or Western, when we say India, they think it as a land of Gandhi. They think it as a land of peace, land of yoga, mysticism. But what Sikhs went through there, and even today, when we are talking 35 years later, you must have seen in the news Narendra Modi, BJP government, which organization RSS came into being in 1920s. When Nazi party was at the budding state, and the founder of RSS, Golwalkar, and the slogan of RSS today is Hindu, Hindi, Hindustan. That if you want to live here, all of you are Hindus, you'll have to speak the only language Hindi, and that is how you will be considered as the citizens of this country called Hindustan. And this is the same slogan when I uttered these words. You can push one nation, one leader, one race. And Golwalkar in his writings, which is titled Bunch of Thoughts, he says that what solution Nazis have done to the minorities, that should be done in India. And even today, when we are talking, United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, which issues its reports regularly, 3 times they have not been given visas to visit India. What happened to Christians in the state of Odisha, if I may remind, that in the year 1998, one doctor of Australian origin, Dr. Stan Gran, who worked with the leprosy patients in the state of Odisha along with his wife, he was burnt alive along with his 2 sons, 9 and 11 years old sons, in a van. And the person who was president of Bajrang Dal, an offshoot of RSS at that time in the state of Odisha, he has been sworn in as the minister in the Modi cabinet 2 days ago. And when he swore, there was much clapping as compared to anybody else. That is the state of India, even now after 35 years. And one question, most of you who are in this hall, and I think the very solemn place of this library, where people think, where people read, where they want to know history, and we often, after what the Nazis did to the Jews, to the Gypsies, to the physically handicapped, to the civil libertarians, to the communists, we said never again, never again. But what has happened in the past 70 years, and not only in the name of fascism, and never forget that even Germany at that time was Socialist Republic of Germany. Hitler didn't take over through the military coup. He was democratically elected, as was Indira Gandhi, and today as is Narendra Modi. And what this tiny minority in India, Sikh nation, when we say 30 million, 5 million are today in diaspora, what they went through. And a brief looking at that, and let me quote firstly Dr. Gregg He is the one who firstly in 1995 gave to the State Department his report, which is today considered as credible by United Nations and other international bodies, that what is genocide. And he gave 8 stages of genocide, 8 steps. And the first is classification, then is symbolization, then is dehumanization, then is organization, then is polarization, then is preparation, then is extermination, and final is denial. I won't go into the details of it. And when we look at these 8 stages, and when we say what happened to Sikhs in June 1984, in November 1984, is genocide, even immediately after, when Britishers in the post-Second World War, they were so much under debt that they couldn't hold their colonies and they had to leave the subcontinent, there were 3 main communities, those who were contenders in the negotiations for transfer of power. Majority Hindus under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru Congress, Indian National Congress. Muslims in the subcontinent under the leadership of Muslim League, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and the Sikhs under the leadership of Akali leaders Tara Singh, Baldev Singh. They were discussing that when the power will be transferred, what kind of arrangement it should be there. There were 570 different princes and maharajas. 1/3 of India was under them, that was given to them. The Sikh leadership at that time, they decided, they were, as some of you might be knowing the history of the subcontinent, that how Sikhs as the third force emerged in the subcontinent. The founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak, was born in 1469, and this year is the 550th anniversary year of Guru Nanak Sahib's birth as well. And Sikhism, which was like a flower full of fragrance, on that land where there were, today we talk about clash of civilizations or different ideas, that was the time when in India there were different ideologies, different schools of thought. Indian caste system, which started with Rig Veda 3,500 years ago, where somebody is born as unequal. And I'll like to remind all of you that when we say, and when the Indian leaders come here, they say, oh, America is the greatest democracy on this planet. We are the largest democracy on this planet. But mark my words, in America, we are taught, our declaration tells us, our constitution tells us, we all are born equal. But there, so-called Indian democracy or the Brahmanism or Hindu thought, which says we all are born unequal. And that is the bedrock of the caste system on which the whole society, and even great Mahatma Gandhi, his all writings and works has been published by India's Information and Broadcasting Ministry. You may read into that. There is not a single line where caste system has been condemned. As we'll have to see that why Sikhs has been targeted. Why? And I remember almost 10 years ago in the Notre Dame University, there was a program under International Peace Studies program, and I was one of the panelists. And the director of that program, Dr. Scott, he asked me, he said, Dr. Singh, why Sikhs are the breadbasket of India? 60% of whole wheat grown in India is in Punjab. We are the breadbasket of India. Sikhs are in the forefront, always in defending India. Over 100,000 Sikhs sacrificed their lives in the Second World War all over the world. And that was the time when Gandhi started Quit India movement and told Indians not to cooperate with the Britishers. But Sikhs, as is our training, to stand against injustice, we knew what the Nazis are doing, what the fascist Mussolini is doing. We disobeyed the Congress and joined ranks, and Sikh soldiers died all over. It may be Middle East, it may be, they were the first ones. Still you can look at that postcard when Sikh forces came to Paris to liberate, and those were the moments. And he asked me why they have targeted Sikhs, such a patriotic people. And I said, sir, benevolent is the most hated person. When you look at their history, for how thousands of years they just subjugated before the invaders, how they obeyed whatever it was, and Guru Nanak's message, which was of love, feeling for others, compassion, sharing with the needy, but at the same time, one very essential ingredient of the Sikhism is Sach Sunayasi, Sach Ki Bela. Speak the truth, stand up for the truth. And these are the very basic values. When you see a Sikh carrying 5 articles of faith, and fifth that is Kirpan, which is the 2 words Kirpa and An, grace and self-respect, dignity. That Sikh has to stand up for the values of righteousness and justice, not for his or her own faith, but for anybody else as well. And that is why when we talk of the history of the Sikhs, 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, gave his life to uphold the religious rights of the Hindus, which were being threatened at that time under the rule of Aurangzeb. So we fought in the 18th century against Mughals, mighty Mughals, against the invaders across Dara Khyber in Afghanistan, or that part which is always in the news for the last 30 years due to different reasons. And then in the 20th century as well, we fought against the Britishers, and when after 18th century persecution, we established a rule which was Sikh Empire under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, which was from 1799 till 1849, when after 2 Anglo-Sikh wars, where the Sikhs fought bravely for their freedom, and as to put under the words of the British general at that time, the results of the wars would have been different if the community of Loyans had been led by the traitors. That is a different history. So that is why Sikhs were the third party to the negotiations for transfer of power. But Sikh representatives then, wrongly or due to not being the intellectual match for the others that what is happening, they sided with the India on the assurances, and I'll quote exact words of first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, the words of great Mahatma Gandhi, where Gandhi said, no constitution in India will be accepted which won't be acceptable to the Sikhs. This is on record. And Nehru said, we'll have no objection if the brave Sikhs of Punjab are given a province in the north of India so that they are also able to experience the glow of freedom. Very flowery words, as Nehru have used in his book, Discovery of India as well. But what happened? In the Constituent Assembly, they found to their dismay that they even refused to recognize Sikhs as a separate faith, separate religion. And that is when 2 Sikh representatives in the Constituent Assembly, they stood, they said, this is betrayal of the Sikhs, this is betrayal of the promises made to the Sikhs, we reject this constitution. Fact of the matter is that de facto we may be captured in India, but de juris we have never accepted Indian constitution, and Sikh representatives refused to put their signatures on that constitution. That is how our struggle began. For almost 37 years, from 47 till the first week of June 1984, through all peaceful means, and I may remind the preamble of UN Charter of Human Rights, that if a man is not to be compelled as a last resort to rebellion, his human rights must be protected by the rule of the law. And we in this country, the great legacy of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, we know what does this mean. That where all means fail, then what is the last thing? And Sant Jarnail Singh Khalsa Pindawale, we are honored that today the memorial for June 1984, not only victims but those brave souls, those who stood their ground for the values of truth and justice, this place will become, this will have that historical place in the future history, which we always remember. When in Bosnia, the Sarajevo was under siege, and I remember I joined protests in Washington, D.C. along with other Jewish organizations and other groups, and I asked them that how come, they said that during the Inquisition of Spain, when we were thrown out of Spain, this Bosnia region was the one which gave us shelter, and we are paying it back after 5 centuries that we need to do something for them if they are under trouble. And certainly NATO intervened, America intervened, and Bosnia was saved from the genocide what the Serbians did there. So I think we will always remember state of Connecticut, city of Norwich, and all you, the honorable people, honorable our guests in this room, those who have stood by us while on one hand, Indian government's full-scale propaganda of blaming Sikhs as the terrorists, as Sikhs were holding those golden temple under the militants, there were ammunition was there, all things were there, and we went with the prayers on our lips just to liberate it. But the fact of the matter is, they destroyed our sanctum sanctorum, they killed thousands of innocent people, and that was the day of June 3rd, which was the martyrdom day. This is like, as it's the holy month of Ramzan, if thousands of Muslims are gathered in Makkah to pray in the evening for iftar and somebody attacks, if on the Passover where Jews are remembering that history of thousands of years, that how they passed through Sinai desert and what were the difficulties, and in those gatherings somebody comes and attacks. That is what happened in the first week of June 1984. That was a holiday and the martyrdom day of 5th Guru, Guru Arjan Sahib, who was martyred way back in 1606, and thousands of Sikhs were there in Golden Temple. They used tanks, they used artillery. For 7 days the world didn't know what is happening there. And finally, even they took away our historical record in the Sikh reference library of hundreds of years of our history was destroyed, and that thing is continuing till this day. And certainly, we say never again, but that is happening in the name of democracy, in the name of land of Gandhi, and we are really thankful that at least our voice has been heard somewhere. The day is not for Sikhs as a brave people, as a right of self-determination under the UN Charter, as being inhabitants of that land. We have a right to our freedom as well, and that is what, and we thank Governor of Connecticut as well, where right of self-determination for the Sikhs in the Indian occupied Punjab has been recognized in the proclamation. Thank you very much.